Oh man. I mean, overall, I've been having a positive experience working on this recurve flat bow. I mean, string is staying on these wonky tips, so it's aligned pretty much. I like this feature. It looks like it's canted this way. It is because of ginks, right? But it makes it so it's not going to be a vertical hold. It's going to be canted a little bit, which is nice. But here's the deal. I wonder if anybody else out there has had this experience. So yesterday I spent a couple hours, and today it's already almost noon. I've been working on this bow, sanding with 60 grit sandpaper with my rubber eraser, and then going back and checking the growth rings to make sure there's good taper, doing it by eye, sighting it down the limbs, good bend, getting a little bend in the tips, everything is good. So I've invested about 5 hours in this bow so far after doing exactly this same thing. I take my arrow and I am going to, I know you can't see this, but what I'm doing is the arrow is now sitting on the string of the bow. Now I'm taking a leather thong, little strip of leather, and I'm tying the knock there so it won't fall out when I take this. And I'm going to pre-answer your questions. Am I exercising the bow between periods of wood removal? Yes, I am, plus I am shooting it. So it is exercising between periods of wood removal. Yesterday, before I started thinning it, or after I started thinning it, but I hit 50 pounds at 22 inches, right? So at 22 inches, after sanding hours and exercising it and shooting it, it is at 50 pounds. It's at 50 pounds. I've removed a lot of wood. I've been shooting it. It's humid out. When I started this yesterday, it was at 50 pounds at 22 inches. And now, after all this work, it is 50 pounds at 22 inches. You know, everything is going smoothly. It's hard to see with the ginks, you know. I'll try to get a good view here. But you can see yeah, ginks. It's really hard to see from your viewpoint with the roller coasters in it. And so far it's a good bow. There's no problems. I will work on it, and then I've got it rigged up underneath a curtain in the house right above a vent for the furnace, you know, dry air blowing over it, putting it back over there. That might be a little factor, but have you ever had a bow that you have thinned and thinned and thinned and thinned, and the weight does not move? I'm hoping that when I hit a certain layer on this onion, that I will actually see progress. But so far, in shooting it, it's a very fast bow. But 50 pounds at 22 inches, it's still 4 inches away from the target draw length at that weight. I don't know. Sometimes I swear, and I'm making good progress. I haven't ruined it by any means. I'm working it down. But sometimes I just freaking swear that bows are haunted. That this has some kind of weird supernatural force that's not allowing it to drop in weight. Now, if this was just a spec bow, you know, I'd say, okay, it's 55 pounds at wherever it happens to be at that, and you can get an anchor at that. But, you know, not being a spec bow, being within parameters, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna eat a little something. It does look like it's a little thick there. Part of my foray into bow making is trusting my eyes. And right there, it has a little thickness that's not follow through the handle. right there. The tapering profile, and I know I'm doing it sideways with the grain, but it removes wood faster, and then I can certainly do it with the grain. Okay, okay. Do I have another bump here? No. It looks, what I'm doing is trusting my vision here. Yeah, I've got the vision of a bat. But I can detect thickness variations that are not in alignment with the taper. Could be a little thick. No, the sinew is kind of, there's a little discrepancy in the edging right there. Okay, the tips, and I do. That's a milestone. It's having, with these, look at the limbs, how they kind of go off into space and stuff. It's perfectly aligned through the handle. The tips, it's staying on there. You know, I've got a good bow here, but it's just, I have to be honest, it's just frustrating the heck out of me that I'm sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding and sanding, and it's still stinking 50 pounds at 22 inches. I don't get it. I really don't. Sometimes bows challenge us, and this definitely, with the snakes and the relatively short length, considering 60 inches not, or tip to tip, 58 inches knock to knock, so it's, 26-inch draw. Guess what it is? 50 pounds. Well, I guess there is an important lesson in here. Is that when you get frustrated, the best thing to do is just unstring it, put it away, let it rest under the curtain. And that shouldn't be raising a draw weight, because it might be lowering it a little bit out here in the humidity, and then giving it like an hour or two of warm, dry air should just return it back to where it was. It's not going to have that much effect when you're just letting it sit for a couple hours behind the curtain. But yeah, this is definitely the time when it is just best to just stop instead of scrambling and working to the point where you ruin the bow. But yeah, I'll get it. By the time, this is my goal. By the time by the time tonight hits, my goal will be to have a 50-pound bow at 26 inches. And then I'm telling you, it's going to be a relief to get to the gull wings. Those are easy. I've done enough of them at this point. I'm not going to monkey with the tips there. That getting those down will be super simple compared to this one. This one is beguiling me. It looks good. And how I'm approaching this to get the maximum bend out is there is the slightest bend in the center of the handle. And then I am going to have the tips a dynamic recurve, so they're going to straighten out a little bit and then return. They're not going to be static. I need to figure out how to get this lowered in weight to the point where it's finished. Maximize its usefulness. It's a fast bow. It drills those arrows into the straw bale. Pardon me while I might find something that I haven't found yet. Might reduce it a little bit here. before, then it's back to I clamp it to the shaving horse, and I literally count with 60 grit and my very soft sanding pad, making sure to get into every crevice and cubby so I'm sanding it evenly, because now it has an even bend, counting how many strokes I do from the tip, because I want to have bending recurves, from the tip to the center of the handle, back and forth counting. And I've been doing it 30 strokes with 60 grit sandpaper at a time on each limb, and yet 50 pounds at 22 inches. And I've done that so many times and have removed so much dust, which means I'm removing wood. I just don't get it. I'm also conscious of the growth rings. In the center of the handle, pinches out. This is the end, center of the handle, centered good. And the next one, it's kind of deceptive. They go to here, and then it's kind of even through the tips. I don't know. It's a mystery. It is an absolute mystery. Well, have a good one. Thank you for watching. And, you know, this might not have been the most positive video, but it is positive that I'm making positive progress. And also, I don't want you to think that, like, I can just go and start a bow and just blow through it, everything expected. It is with self bows that aren't recurved. You know, that's a straight line approach. But something like this, with the ginks and the wiggles and the recurves and the relatively short length compared to the draw, they're challenges. Well, that is a day in the life of me. I can see in this shading where I can do a little bit more work before I do the even count up and down the limbs. Yeah, bow making.